Hey, what's up? It's Kip, time for another video, and today we're going to be talking about reels. So these are the reels that I use for some of my ultralight fishing. And as you can see, one is bait casting and one is spinning. I look at these things as two different systems, and you should too. There's actually some tasks that are performed better than a with the baitcaster, and there are some tasks that are performed better by a spinning reel. Much the same way that you don't take your four-wheel drive to the racetrack or your sports car to the desert, they each have some things that they do better than the other. Okay? So, first 5 minutes dedicated to those guys that don't have time to watch a really long, lengthy explainer video. The next 5 minutes is going to be for you. But if you like and subscribe, what's going to happen is that you can always go back when you have more time and watch the whole video. Okay, so yep, if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe, and let's do this. So if you are wanting to go into ultralight fishing and you don't want to have a headache, spinning reel is your answer. Okay, so spinning reel has a very interesting history. Okay, the first thing that you need to know is that it was designed to cast light lures, and it was also made so that fishing would be accessible to a lot of people. So when Mitchell invented this, he had those two. Mitchell. Okay, Mitchell invented the spinning reel. It's a brand that's still around, by the way. So when Mitchell invented the spinning reel, it was to do that because the learning curve on baitcasters was actually quite long. And back then, the technology for brakes on the spool were actually non-existent, and you had to rely on your thumb. Okay, that's why there's a term in fishing called an educated finger, and it refers to the thumb. So you had to use your thumb to actually act as a brake on the spool. It's still applicable today. It's a good skill to have, just so you'd be able to cast this a bit more effectively. But technology has improved, and braking systems of different reels and manufacturers have actually improved over the years. Spinning reel has the ability, or the uncanny ability, to be ambidextrous, which means that you could move your handle left or right. With a baitcaster, if you're buying a right-handed reel, you're stuck with it. If you're buying a left-handed reel, which are, available now, before it was only on the right hand. So you're stuck with that. If you choose a right-handed reel, you're stuck with a right-handed reel, not with a spinning reel. Move the handle to the left or to the right, up to you. Also, changing spools in the field is way easier than it is with a baitcaster. Even if you had an extra spool on your baitcaster, this is just a matter of just turning the knob, your drag knob, okay, taking the spool out and replacing it with another one. It's that easy, okay? So, like so. And it also gives you a lot of advantages, okay? So if you're able to actually change your spool just like that, it means that you'd be able to switch spools as conditions permit. It could be that you want to fish monofilament and you have an extra spool, fill it up with mono, and you're good to go, okay? Or if you want lighter braid and heavier braid in one reel, like take, for example, 1 or 2 sizes up, then you have that to your disposal, and it's that easy. And at the very least, what you could have is 2 spools of line on the ready, because if you get stripped or if the line gets too underspooled, you don't have to respool. You just have to change your spool and it's done. But with a baitcaster, it just doesn't happen that fast. They're easy to learn. So, that's the main advantage of the spinning reel, and it's one of the core concepts of it, is that you could just pick it up, and then after that you can, even if you're a total beginner, you can pick it up, and then within 15 minutes you'd be able to, cast the rod and reel, no problem. Now, It's less of a hassle to operate because it's actually very intuitive. You know, once you have the spinning reel, you open the bail, you cast out, you close the bail, you reel in. That's it. Okay. The mechanics for the bait casting is actually kind of confusing for a lot of people that just started out, and it's really just a bad idea to actually start them with a Baitcaster because it'll frustrate them. Okay, so this is a less frustrating system, especially when you're fishing at night that you don't want to fiddle around with things. Spinning reel is just it. Now, you have a tendency to have wind knots with spinning reels. The best way to actually avoid that is after your cast, you close the bail, you pull the line until it's tight, and then you reel in. And if you make that a habit, you will cut down, if not totally eliminate, your wind knots. So that's it. With that information, you'd be able to enjoy your spinning reel. But if you're still around and want to hear more, I'll give you a lot of things that you actually didn't really think existed. Spinning reels and bait casters. All right, so let's do this. Now, the thing with spinning reels that a lot of people don't know is the fact that it gives you a perfect drop back. And you know, a lot of people actually kind of don't know what that is, but it's quite important and it's actually quite a big thing. Now, first, I'll give you a little explanation on what this reel has. So inside, it has almost frictionless bearings. Okay, now these are ceramic bearings and they're pure ceramic bearings. It's probably some of the most expensive bearings for that particular size that you could ever buy. Okay, at least the technology for now. And this free spools. It has some brakes applied to it now, but this free spools for a really long time. And that just tells you that, you know, the bearings on this is just amazing. Now, even with those bearings, there's still going to be some contact and there's still going to be some friction. And what happens with that is, okay, so I need to do an illustration here. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see better. So because of the friction that it causes when I cast, okay, when it lands in the water, this is the water here. So when it lands in the water, it'll go like that. Okay, now if you're in deep enough water, you could actually see it if you're diving and, you know, looking at the side and all that. But with the spinning reel, because it has no friction except for the spool here, the lip, because it just gives out the line without the spool turning, what happens is you have a perfect drop back. So you cast out, it drops. Oh, okay, it drops and it goes straight down. Okay, and that gives you a lot of advantages because especially when you're fishing around pilings, okay, and you want your lure or bait to drop perfectly beside the piling, the spinning reel is the best way to go because the bait caster, what happens is that it'll tend to pull the line towards you. It's just the way it is. It's the physics of things. So that's the biggest advantage of the spinning reel. And believe it or not, especially when you're fishing offshore, it's not applicable to, you know, a lot of the ultralight guys. Or is it? You know, when you get a bite, especially when you're doing, like, take for example, you're fishing, and actually I use this. Okay, so it might be of some use to you, but back home, I used to fish really tiny shrimp or prawns, whichever you want to call it. But they're about 2 inches at the very most, and yeah, okay, it's bait. So I fish with an open bail. Okay, and when the fish bites, I hold the line, and when the fish bites, I let go. And because of the perfect drop back, it'll just run without feeling anything. Now, you can't really do that with the spinning, with the bait caster, because if you try to do that, you have to thumb the spool, and that's resistance. And some fish, And these particular fish are ox-eye tarpon, and they're very sensitive when it comes to, with the bites and the drag tension on the line. They just let go. So I fish with an open bail. I hold the line, and when they bite, I let go and I let them run. And when I'm fishing with tiny circle hooks, so they don't really get gut hooked, but I let go of the line, they won't feel anything. Okay, now when you're fishing soft plastic, sometimes when you get a bite and they don't run with it, or when the fish are very finicky, when you fish, okay, open the bail, let them run. Okay, give them a couple of seconds, close the bail, reel in, and set, and they're always there. So that's a very good tip for you guys that stayed around. Now, this reel is underspooled. Okay, compare this with this spool right here. Now, the reason why I'm underspooling this reel is because if you underspool it, the line and the lip creates more friction and tension. Okay, so if you underspool a little bit, what happens is that when you cast, you eliminate that slack that I was talking about earlier. What enables that, or that enables me to do, is also put in long leaders, which I love fishing. Now, the underspooling of the line is actually something that's very useful to me, especially since I have two spools. So what happens there is that if it is windy, you check your forecast and you see that it's windy, I could just take the spool, one spool, or load this spool as the main and then use this for backup. And more than likely, it just works for me. I don't really worry about wind nuts, and it gives me trouble-free fishing. Now, this is especially true when I'm fishing at night and I just don't want to be bothered. And if there's only like a couple of rods that I need to take, then sure as heck, I'm going to have one of these spools with me. Okay. Now, you're saying like, oh my goodness, so there's a lot of advantages on the spinning reel. So what's the need for a baitcaster? Okay. Spinning reels, if you're kind of just doing the math, the thing with the spinning reels is that it takes a lot of motion to actually make a cast and retrieve. Okay, so you have to grab the line with your index finger, you have to open the bail, and when you cast out, you have to let go of the finger, or you have to let go of the line in your finger and let it slide out, whatever your technique is. And then after that, you close the bail. Okay, you tighten the line just out of practice. Okay, and then you reel. Okay, now what's faster than this? And that's ready to cast. Okay, so with a baitcaster, it actually gives you a lot more casts, and a lot more casts means a lot more ground covered and a lot more fishing time. So that's probably, if this has the perfect drop back, this has the most casts. Okay, those are their biggest advantages, aside from, of course, the learning curves. But like I mentioned earlier, the brakes on these are actually so good right now that you can adjust and fine-tune them according to your style. Now, what I find a hassle with working with baitcasters is the fact that every time you change your lure weight, you have to adjust. So if you're using similar weighted lures, that's fine, but as soon as you jump from, say, 5 grams to 1 gram, there's a big difference there, because the 1 gram would require you to have lighter brake settings, and when you switch to the 5 grams and then you switch to the 1 gram, you'll have shorter casting distance. And when you're using brakes for the 1 gram and then you go to the 5 gram, you end up with a lot of backlash. So yeah, there's a definite learning curve when it comes to that. Okay, but I can spool thicker line on this. The rod is a bit stiffer, so I can give the fish a bit more stick. So it's basically a system wherein I would be able to, even if it's a light system, if there's something big that bites, it's something that I can just pull back on and actually stand a chance to landing the bigger fish. Now, baitcasters are inherently slower than spinning reels. You take the fastest baitcaster and you take the fastest spinning reel, and you'll find that the baitcaster will be slower. Okay, what that tells you is that on certain applications, this might be better, even if it's kind of a fast reel. Okay, so I do have, and I've scoured the internet for slower reels, and I have them. Okay, but the main advantage for me is when you're using crankbaits. Take, for example, the ultralight crank from Rapala, and it works perfectly with this reel. Now, for lighter applications, I actually have this reel, which I fully tricked out. I kind of regret tricking this out because this is equal to about 3 reels, the amount of money that I sank into this. The spool, the bearings, the handle, the star drag, and the braking system is all that I have modified, and I had to make a rod for it. So it is kind of very specialized, but I'm quite happy with it. Now, how light can you go with a baitcaster? I've been able to cast 1 gram and even less than 1 gram soft plastic and jig head, soft plastic and lead head jig combinations with this reel. So I'm quite happy with it. It's just that, well, it cost me a lot. So it's not impossible to actually do something, especially when it's stuff like this. And I really had a goal of reaching that sub 1 gram weights and to be able to toss them out at a good distance. So mission accomplished. But see, the thing is, if I just stayed with, a better thought process, I would have probably bought a better spinning reel or whatnot, and be totally fine with it and totally happy with it. Does the same job. Okay, so that's it. Now, in the subject of reel speed, okay, here's a very good tip for you guys. Now, for slower reels, there's a PG and there's HG, there's XG. Okay, so for Shimano. Now, if you have a really, really fast reel, like an XG, what you could do is actually pair it up with a shorter rod, and you would be able to work whatever lure slower. Just by virtue of having a shorter rod, what it means is that you're actually fishing the slower part with the rod as opposed to, reeling in. For power gears or slow reels, what you could do is actually get a longer rod, and then every time you sweep the rod up, you actually, kind of move the lure fast. So you could balance those things out, and you could actually have a slow reel that has the capability of a faster burst, and you have a fast reel that can actually fish slow. So that's a very good tip to keep in mind when you're doing these things. So for me, all right, as I have explained, these two systems are quite different because for me they are kind of specific in my applications. Now, if you just want something worry-free, go with the spinning reel. But if you want to go into cranking or covering more water, this system, if you learn it, okay, if you already have it, don't give up. Just, use it for that and be a bit more patient. If not, learn how to manage your braking system and you'll be fine. Okay, so there's no better system. There's only systems that you could use and make the most out of. All right, so for me, baitcasters have their own place and time, and spinning reels have their own place and time. It just depends on how you use them. And the most important thing is actually getting the most enjoyment to whatever system that you're using. Now, if you are fishing and you're enjoying yourself with a baitcaster, more power to you, because I'm with you there. It's fun, you know? And that's what fishing is all about. Being able to use your gear in a way that gives you happiness, no matter how big or small the fish is, just as long as you're doing what you love doing with the gear, gives you the most pleasure. And then that's it. That's all we want. All right. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching the video, and see you in the next one.